Hi everybody, Brian Meadows from CorrectiveMechanics.com. I am coming to you with another Mindfulness series video. This one is all about your posture and sitting at a desk in an office chair. So most of us, or most people in the world, have a lot of time spent in a chair in front of computers at a keyboard and a mouse. So if we're spending most of our day in a chair, then we should think about how we're sitting and our posture, because day after day, that many hours in that chair, if you're not keeping a good posture, over time you will start to model a difference in your skeletal and your muscular system, and you might start having, more likely you'll start having some muscle compensations, and some of the muscles that are overcompensating for are going to get fatigued and get sore. So that's why we have a lot of upper trapezius problems, is because we start to slouch and lose our posture, that the upper trapezius starts to have to fire more often to try and bring our head back into alignment with our spine. So this is about a mindfulness. So if you can do some things to think about while you're working or sitting in a chair, that you may catch yourself in a situation where you're slumping or whatever, you can correct that and get back into a good posture. Now, it's not easy, because we all know that sitting in one position for a long time, you start to fatigue and then you start to try and get more comfortable. But unfortunately, when you try to get more comfortable, we put ourselves into that bad position. Stick around and we'll start going over the mindfulness series for sitting in a chair. Okay, so if you're spending a lot of time in your chair, then you really want to think about your posture and how you're sitting. Now, I'm in my GT Racer type racing chair here. I do have a lumbar support, which is nice because it helps support my lower lumbar and that natural curve that's there. And it also allows me to have some kind of recognition that my back is against the chair. And if I start to lose that feeling, or then I might be sitting in a position that is not upright properly, right? I might feel it higher or I might feel it lower on my back. It tells me the pillow's not where I put it in the first place. So I must be doing something that is changing that position. Now, one thing about these high back racing chairs, if you could see that they do have some kind of curvature here, so that kind of pushes your shoulders forward. Not the best ideal situation. You might want, if you're going to get a high back, make sure it's broad. I might have to look for another one. After all, with feeling this, I thought it was going to be a much wider top for me. But anyways, nonetheless, we'll still be able to talk about this here, but just be mindful of that, because you want to be your posture more upright and your shoulders in alignment as opposed to slunched forward. And then I'm going to talk about why that's bad. But naturally, we always think about sitting as being upright and not leaning forward, not hunching over, and certainly not slouching in our chair either. So just starting from here in a slouch position, we can see that my angle of my upper body is starting to tilt in an angle here as opposed to being upright. And that also, even though we're talking or looking right away about the upper body being in a bad position, no lumbar support, big gap here behind me, but look at my neck too, as in relative to my upper body, where if I was sitting upright, my neck and my upper body are more in alignment. But now that I slump in my chair, my neck is now actually craning forward. So if I was to hold my neck in this position and then sit up straight, you could see that my head is now tilting forward. And that, as opposed to keeping my chin up, right? So that right there is actually changing in the length tension relationship in your neck muscles and putting more strain on the muscles in the back, which could be the levator scapulae and the upper trapezius muscles. And at the same time, your scalenes is being overcompensated for, which is the deep cervical neck muscles in your neck. So slumping, not good either. So speaking about neck position, let's talk about how a laptop can be a bad influence to your posture as well. So taking a laptop here and putting it on my desk, right? So right now, I have to look down at my laptop. So again, I'm putting my neck, and even though it's not like extreme, it's still in an angle looking down. So again, everything about posture, everything about imbalances, everything about overcompensations is about poor posture and over a good length of time, repetitiveness. And that's what we're talking about here if you're working in an office all the day, all the time, every day. But if you're always using your laptop, even like this, just sitting on your desk, and you're working from that, your neck is still looking down. Now, even worse, if you're working from your lap and looking at your laptop, now we're really exaggerating the neck looking down at the laptop screen. And so you can imagine how much more strain this is. As a matter of fact, the more we lean forward with our head, the more effect gravity has on our muscles in the back and in the neck. So the lower you're looking down, the more strain you're putting on your muscles in your neck. Now, having it up higher, let's just say it's up higher. Okay, that's great. Now you can look more straight ahead at your laptop. Well, hopefully you're using a keyboard in another position to work the computer as opposed to a keyboard on the laptop, but I'll go over that. Right now I'm still talking about neck position and seated position. Okay, so I'm going to put the laptop away for a second. So what can we be more mindful about? Well, one, we want to make sure that we're working in an ergonomic state, that our head is more level, our chin is level, our head is back, and we can actually look forward. So using a set of monitors with a laptop system, if you have them, is much more advantageous for a good posture. I have the monitors in front of me, and I can look at the monitors more level. I don't have to look down at anything. I'm looking straight ahead. So already I'm improving my posture for my neck. Now, from a sitting position, I already showed you the slumping and the issues with that. We also, when we sit in our chair for a long time, we start to fatigue, right? Again, we're getting a little exhausted in trying to hold ourselves upright. Good exercise for your back and your muscles and your stabilizers. However, it does get tiring. Well, okay, so a couple of things that could happen. You could start to notice, again, I'm starting to come away from my chair because now I'm leaning on my desk to try and compensate for some of that fatigue that I've been experiencing. Well, now I'm hunching over. I'm hunching over and I'm leaning on my desk, so now I'm bringing my elbows forward more. They're up higher. My shoulders are coming in. I'm actually tightening the muscles in my pectoralis. Even passively, it's still contracting. But I've really got a pronounced hunch in my back now. And now I also, because I'm using monitors, I'm now looking like this. So I'm leaning over, but then craning my neck backwards. So if I was to straighten up and keep my neck in the same position, this is where my neck is, my head. Okay? This is why we have a new condition called nerd neck. And the nerd neck is this exactly. You're hunched over, you're all forward, and then your head is tilted up, your chin is up, but your neck is craning backwards. So now you're exaggerating that. And that creates a position in your jawline that now when you lean back, it's actually lower than where it should be compared to some of the C1 and some of that joints that are in your spine. it's not natural position. It needs to be riding above and more in alignment this way. But this creates what's called nerd neck. And so that's where you kind of, just to exaggerate a little bit more, kind of like this. So that can happen. You start to notice you do this, you're resting on your chin, you're still in that bad posture. Okay, so now I've shown you a couple of bad ways of sitting in a chair, and that's one hunched over, and whether you're looking down or putting your head in position to create nerd neck, or you're slumping in your chair and letting your lower back curve and your neck is still in an angle relative to your upper body. Both bad posture, right? It just looks very bad. You know that because this is what we all recognize as good posture, sitting up straight. So what can you do about that? What's mindful of that? Well, I'm hunching over, I feel my back coming away from the chair. Or this is a key that I realize, oh, I'm resting on my hands and on my elbow. This can't be good. It's not good posture. I recognize that too. And it's very easy to know when you're slouching and you realize this too, right? I mean, it may occur without you subconsciously. You might do this just because you're fatigued and sitting upright all the time. Then when you notice this, you will recognize like, oh, geez, I'm slumping in my chair. This is a moment to either sit up again, right? Mindfulness. This is all about mindfulness. Okay, put my lumbar cushion back in the right position and sit up straight again. Simple as that. An alternative thing to do is just to turn your chair, get up, and walk away for a minute. So get up, walk away, take a break, let your body move around a little bit. It's been sitting there static for a long time that you're starting to slouch, you're starting to hunch, whatever the case may be. Take a break. Go get some water or something. Just get up and move. It's even better, right? Because now you got some movement going for the day. But it gives you a break and your muscles in a time to relax, recuperate, feel better, come back. You've been mindful about it. Now you get back into good posture. Okay, now let's talk about arms. So we talked about the neck, and we talked about our upright position with our back and how we can get into two bad positions itself. So now let's talk about what else is not good about sitting in a chair for a long time and a bad posture. And that is your shoulders, your arms, and your chest. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, naturally, when we reach forward, we're closing the gap between our shoulders and our chest muscles. So our pectoralis muscles actually fire and contract by bringing our hands forward and in front of ourselves. Your shoulder muscles are engaged, and your pectoralis muscles are engaged just by doing this. So if you think about in an office setting, what's causing your hands to go forward? Well, it's my mouse and it's my keyboard. They're in front of me. My hands come in front and my mouse is in front. Okay, so already I've got this going on. Now you can't avoid that because they're always going to be in front of you unless you're a male. You do something and typing backwards and holding your chest back and everything. I don't think anybody's doing that. I've never seen anybody do that. So everything's in front of you, so you're always going to have your hands in front of you. Okay, not inevitable. So what do you do about that? Again, if you start to feel fatigue, take a break, right? Put your hands down at your side, sit upright again, go for a walk to get some water, whatever the case may be. But it's always going to be there. And so at the end of the day, you want to be conscious that you've been doing that, it's contracted. Stretch those chest muscles. I have some other videos that talk about how to stretch that chest muscle at the end of the day after a long day of work. Basically stretching that chest, opening it up, and allowing it to lengthen back out since it's been contracted all day. All right, but since we have to do this, there are some things that are better ways of doing it than others. If you are like a lot of people I see when they go down at their desk in an office, the keyboard is sitting on the desk, and so is the mouse. Okay, what's wrong with this? Well, the problem is that it's the height. So if I'm having to have my arms forward, if the keyboard's up higher, now I've got an even more exaggerated contraction going on between my shoulders and my pecs. Not to mention, my wrists are much higher than my elbows. So with the keyboard, now I've got more of a backward angle with my wrist because it's up on the desk, it's up higher. And when I want to stop typing and I take a micro break, that's what this is called, a micro break, you lift your fingers off the keyboard, you're actually straining your hands backwards. So if this isn't any good, then what can we do about that? Well, the best thing to do is to have it sit lower. Have your keyboard and your mouse a much lower level than the desk so that your arms are more less than either 90 degrees or lower. And I think lower is even better because it allows your hands to be more in alignment with your forearms when you're using the keyboard. So you can buy a keyboard lap pad, online, but you basically, so that it can rest on your lap. You can even just use the keyboard on your lap, but then what do you do with your mouse, right? You have to either have it way off to the side or on here, and then of course that's going to put some awkward positions for your body. So what you can do is buy something that is made for your lap to put your keyboard and mouse on. I've made my own. Ouch. I've made my own here just out of some, wood here. I think it's just maple or whatever. But I also tacked on some stops here so the keyboard doesn't slide off the front, and over here on the side so that the mouse wire and the mouse all stay up here, because it is going to be in a negative tilt away from me. As you can see, I've got it here, and you can already see a negative tilt. It's kind of tilting down. Not exaggerated, but it's enough to make the mouse slide sometimes, especially if I put my feet forward more. It starts to slide down. There you go, right there. But I made it so that the wire just fits through that between those two blocks there. But so the mouse is just perfect, and if it slides forward, it's trapped by here. And then I just simply put the keyboard here, and the keyboard can go through there, or it can come around this side, whatever, as far as the wire. But now my keyboard is much lower. I'm working straight ahead of myself. I've got the keyboard here. My hands are in a good angle relative to each other. My mouse is more at a downward angle, so I don't have as much of an exaggerated wrist problem here as I would up here. It's much more in alignment with my arms, my forearms. When I take a micro break from doing this keyboard and lift my fingers off, I'm not having as much of an exaggeration of lifting my wrists back towards myself, and therefore not trying to make an inflammation here in the wrists. So I highly recommend this. Sometimes people have a mounted thing underneath. You can adjust that and have it a downward angle as well. But sometimes you got to get it low, and then you bump your knees into it. And this is my best situation. This is what I use all the time. It's just the way to keep it in a negative angle, and I love it. It's what I'm used to. It's good. It's much better ergonomically. Now, one additional benefit, a very big benefit of having a much lower keyboard as opposed to up here, is your shoulder and chest relationship. If you've been noticing when I've had my hands down here, my shoulders are much more, in my upper arm, are much more in alignment as opposed to when I have my keyboard up here. So my elbows, my forearm are clearly reaching forward, which is putting more tension and contraction on my chest muscles. And so therefore, they're firing by having my hands more in front of me and up higher. So down here, arms much more relaxed. in a much better angle. And now I'm not contracting nearly as much with my shoulders and my chest. So huge benefit for using a more ergonomic situation with your keyboard and your mouse. Okay, so the last tip I have for you is a sit-stand desk for being able to take a break from sitting and standing up. One thing about sitting all day long is that your angle of your body is at 90 degrees between your upper thigh and your upper torso. That is making your hip flexor muscles contract. So if you're sitting all day, these are contracting all day. So if you have one of these, you can simply adjust it, raise it up so that you can stand up. And then when you're standing up, your upper to lower body is more than 180 degrees in a single plane, right? So you're now no longer contracting these muscles. In fact, now you're giving the opposite side a little bit of a workout. Contract those glutes, whatever, but helping you stand up and strengthening the backside of your legs and your glutes. But this allows you to have, and this of course goes much higher, but you adjust it to your particular height, and what you really want to have is where your arms, again, are 90 degrees with where the keyboard's going to end up. So that gives you another opportunity to take a break from sitting. And so when I'm on a conference call, I can participate in that conference call, and I'll typically stand and just have my headset on and participating. And so it's a great opportunity to continue working, but taking a break at the same time. So listen, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you really liked it, please just give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it, just to let me know that you enjoyed it. But even more so, I'd appreciate it if you go to my correctivemechanics.com website and download a free PDF book that I've got on corrective exercise and about posture and what we do and the particular steps on helping correct bad posture, imbalances, overcompensations, and step-by-step procedures so that we can correct that and get you back to a normal and functional and free-flowing life. But I hope you really enjoyed this mindfulness series and this one about sitting down at a desk all day. Thank you. Please go to correctivemechanics.com and download your free ebook. We also have a Body and Balance membership-based program and walk you through step-by-step on fixing your specific ailments and imbalances. Hey, if you like this video, do me a favor and put a comment down below and even subscribe or hit that like button. But even more so, I'd appreciate it if you go to correctivemechanics.com and check out some other videos and tips and tricks that we have. And I also have available for you a free ebook that shows how the whole process of corrective exercise works. Until next time, take care.